Enjoying the Canary Islands. Family time is priceless, she wrote. I didn't reply. They couldn't imagine what would come next. The sound of the phone vibrating on the kitchen table pulled me from my thoughts. I looked at the screen. Mom. I sighed before swiping to answer. Son, we have to cancel the trip, she said without preamble, in a tone that pretended to sound affected. My heart stopped for a second. Cancel? How? I asked, my jaw tense. We've been planning for months, everything is paid for. Mom, I know honey, but we've had some financial problems. We can't afford the trip right now. I closed my eyes tightly, trying not to scream. Mom, I paid my share. I even advanced some of your expenses because you told me you'd pay me back later. I know, her voice trembled slightly, but the situation has changed. We can't go. Anger began to boil inside me. And the money? My mom told me that the family trip was canceled. We simply can't afford it right now, she sighed. Later I saw her photos on Facebook. Are you going to pay me back now? We can't. But later. I hung up. I couldn't keep listening to excuses. I didn't sleep that night. My head spun with memories of all the times I had been the one to sacrifice my plans to help the family. This time was different. This time I wasn't going to let it go. The next morning, while I was having my coffee, a notification lit up my phone screen. Instagram. Instinctively. And then I saw it. A story posted just 2 hours ago. My mother in the pool of a luxurious hotel. My sister with a cocktail in her hand, laughing with my brother-in-law. My father with sunglasses and an ear-to-ear grin. Location, Canary Islands. The air caught in my throat. I felt as if I had been punched in the stomach. They didn't just cancel the trip. They went without me. And worse yet, with my money. I took a deep breath and decided to find out the truth before reacting. I stared at the phone screen, cold coffee in my hands. My mother laughing on a sun lounger. My sister posing in her designer bikini. My father, supposedly stressed about finances, holding a glass of white wine next to a table full of seafood. With my money, I felt the rage. I felt a great indignation rising in my throat as if I were going to lose control. My heart was pounding and for a second I thought I was going to throw the phone against the wall. No. Calm down. Find out the truth first. I opened the family chat. Recent messages. Mom. We love you very much, son. Sorry for all this, we'll talk when we get back. There was nothing about the trip, not a single mention, as if they were trying to pretend it didn't exist. My hand trembled as I opened my sister's chat. Online 3 minutes ago. Perfect. Enjoying the trip they canceled, I wrote bluntly. The message stayed on double blue check for a few seconds, then the 3 dots appeared and disappeared. Then again. Finally the answer. Don't start, Pablo. Don't start. My blood was boiling, but I wasn't going to explode yet. Not yet. First I would make her talk. With what money did you pay for all this? Silence. Then finally Mom sorted it out. It's not your problem. Mom sorted it out. There I had it clear. They had used my money. I had no proof yet, but I already knew it. My sister was clumsy with lies. My mother, on the other hand, was an expert manipulator. I wanted answers. I took my mobile and called my bank. Good morning, Mr. Romero. How can we help you? I took a deep breath. I want a detailed summary of all recent movements in my account. There was a brief silence. Of course, sir. Let's see. Is this withdrawal of €3,500 authorized last week? The coffee almost fell out of my hand. What? Another withdrawal of $2,200 4 days ago. And a transfer of $1,800 to an account in the name of Mariana Romero. My mother's name. I felt dizzy. No. I didn't authorize it. Do you want me to block the account and start I ran a hand over my face. No. Not yet. For now, send me the details by email. I hung up. There were no more doubts. They robbed me. My own family. And now they would understand that actions have consequences. The email from the bank arrived in less than 10 minutes. Every transaction. Every euro stolen. I received proof that my family used my money without my consent. I didn't expect such a betrayal. I added up quickly.
7,500 euros.
€7,500 that I had saved with sweat, with nights without going out, with sacrifices. And they spent it on lobster and cocktails in the Canary Islands. What an injustice. I took a breath. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to do something worse. I opened Instagram, but my finger stopped on the screen before posting the story. I called Carlos. He had always been my support in difficult times. Are you sure about this, brother? He asked in a worried voice. I don't know, Carlos. I feel that if I do it, there will be no turning back. Maybe that's what you need. A way to cut ties with them forever. I looked at the screen. My finger trembled over the post button. I took a deep breath and did it. I decided to share my experience so that others could learn from it. That one where she posed with a daiquiri in her hand, one foot in the pool and a model's smile. I wrote on the image, when you trust your family but discover they've used your money without telling you, trust is hard to regain. This time I didn't hesitate. Press post. Then I went to Facebook. A public post. Handwriting. Years saving for a trip with my family, and in the end I was left out without explanation. Sometimes those you love most disappoint you.
7,500 € Stollen.
Enjoy the Canary Islands, Mom and Company. I hope the sun doesn't burn you as much as you burned me. Post. I threw myself on the sofa, feeling the adrenaline spread through my body. I waited 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Cell phone. WhatsApp exploded. Speech bubble. Mom, what have you done? Why did you put that on the internet? Speech bubble. Sister. Delete that right now. You have no idea what you're doing. Speech bubble. Dad, son, we need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. A blatant lie. I didn't answer. They wanted to deceive me, but I wasn't going to let it go. Bell. Instagram notifications. Is it true about your family? What a scandal. You didn't deserve this. How embarrassing. Your sister even complained about the hotel in a comment. Haha. The comments on my Facebook post spread like wildfire. Thumbtack on corkboard. Uncle Alvaro, expensive you are. I always suspected your mother played favorites, but this is crazy. Thumbtack on corkboard. Cousin Sophia. It doesn't surprise me. They always took advantage of you. Thumbtack on corkboard. Childhood friend Carlos. Brother, if you need anything, count on me. This is utter betrayal. My family was facing the consequences of their actions. Cell phone. Incoming call. Mom. I answered it not because I wanted to listen to her, but because I wanted to see how far her lies would go. How dare you expose us like this? She blurted out without greeting. Her voice trembled between fury and fear. How dare you rob me? I snapped back in the same tone. Silence. We didn't rob you, just... Mom, you just took my savings without telling me. You just left me out of the trip I paid for. You just lied to my face. She tried to speak, but I interrupted her. Mom, you have one option. I need you to return the money to me today. If not, I'll have to take legal action. Fraud. We are family. Family doesn't rob me, Mom. I hung up. The clock was ticking. Either she paid me or I would have to take measures to protect my rights. They returned the money to me. But the wound was open. They could have avoided it. They could have treated me with respect. They could have been honest from the beginning. But they chose greed. They chose lies. They chose to betray me. And now they were going to pay the price. Cell phone. Message from Mom. 8:15 a.m. Speech bubble. Pablo, you have your money now. Be an adult and delete those posts. You've done us enough damage. Speech bubble. The family is upset with you. People are calling us asking things. Is this what you wanted? Speech bubble. Think of your father. This is affecting him a lot. Think of my father? The same one who sat in a luxury hotel drinking wine with my money while they were selling me excuses? The same one who didn't even have the decency to call me before disappearing to the Canary Islands? The same one who never questioned what they did because in the end it suited him. I took a deep breath. They hadn't learned their lesson yet. They still thought they could control the narrative. But not anymore. Settling accounts. Fire. I opened Instagram. I knew my family would see the post. But more than a scandal, I wanted them to understand my point of view. New story. Update. They have returned my money. But not because they wanted to, but because I exposed them. Not because they felt guilty, but because they had no choice. Lesson learned. Sometimes family is not the one who gives you life, but the one who respects your effort. And the other lesson: don't let anyone use you as their ATM, not even your own blood. Post. Cell phone. Incoming call. Dad. Here comes the final attack. I answered in the coldest voice I had. Do you really want to do this? He growled in that authoritarian tone that used to make me feel guilty. Do you really want to destroy the family for that damn trip? I laughed mirthlessly. No. You destroyed it the moment you decided that your pleasure was more important than my trust. Silence. I heard him exhale through his nose, trying to control his anger.
Pablo. Sean.
Don't exaggerate. This hurts us all. We just want this to be over. There it was. The classic move. Let's pretend nothing happened. My mother's favorite technique. Ignore what they did and pretend that it's my fault for not getting over it. But I was no longer fooled.
No, Dad.
No. I can't just ignore. What are you saying? That you want it to end? I, on the other hand, am just getting started. And I hung up. Calendar. The following days passed. I didn't answer a single call. I didn't open a single message. I let them drown in the chaos they had created. The family was divided. Some supported me, others called me dramatic and said I was overreacting. Uncle Alvaro, you did well. They've always taken advantage of you. Cousin Sophia. I understand you, but they're your family. Couldn't you talk to them? Aunt Carmen. Your post was unnecessary. There are ways to fix problems without exposing your mother. Sister. I can't believe what you did. You made us look like miserable people. Are you happy? Happy? No. Not yet. But for the first time in my life I had control. And I was going to use it. Cell phone. Family WhatsApp. The tension in the group was palpable. No one pretended that everything was fine anymore. Finally, Mom wrote. Speech bubble.
Pablo. I'm sorry.
We failed you. Can we talk in person and fix this? There it was. Not a real apology. Not an acknowledgement that what they did was wrong. Just a desperate attempt to regain control. I didn't reply. I just left the group. Thumbtack on corkboard. Pablo has left the group. The next thing I did was even better. I blocked everyone. Dad, mom, sister, uncles, cousins, everyone. Now this was over. Calendar. A week later, I was at the bar closing accounts with my partner when my phone vibrated. Cell phone. Message from an unknown number. Speech bubble. You can't just disappear like this. One day you'll need us, and when you do, you'll be sorry. I smiled. I wasn't going to need anyone. They, on the other hand, would regret it for the rest of their lives. After days of ignored calls and messages demanding that I delete everything, finally came the silence. And it felt glorious. No more manipulations. No more emotional blackmail. For the first time in my life, my family had no power over me. So I did what any intelligent person would do with that newfound freedom. I started living for myself. Calendar. 1 month later. With the 7,500 euros I got back, plus some money I already had saved, I made the decision I had been putting off for years. Focus. Invest in myself. White heavy check mark. I enrolled in an entrepreneurship course. I learned about business, investments, marketing strategies. Before, my money only served to support others. Now I was going to make it grow for me. White heavy check mark. I partnered with an old friend and we started our own business. We opened a tapas and cocktail bar in the center of Madrid. Something small but with personality. A place where people came to enjoy, not to demand. Something that was only mine. White heavy check mark. I booked a trip to Italy.
Rome, Florence, Venice.
A trip that this time no one was going to take away from me. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty about spending money on myself. Every euro that left my account was for a decision of my own, not for an obligation imposed by others. And best of all, my family was no longer a part of my life. Cell phone. Silence on WhatsApp. Cell phone. Silence on calls. Cell phone. Silence on social media. And I loved it. No one asked me for money. No one manipulated me with phrases like, "We are family, you should help us." No one made me feel selfish for taking care of myself. I was free. 6 months later, the business was doing well. I hadn't become a millionaire, but it was mine. First, it was difficult. There were days when I barely slept. Days when I wondered if I had made a mistake leaving my family behind. But every time I looked at my bank accounts, every time I opened the door of my own bar, every time I saw people enjoying what we had built, I knew it. I had made the best decision of my life. The things that used to seem normal to me, checking my bank account with anxiety, feeling guilty for saying no, waiting for the next demand for money, disappeared from my life. Now there was only tranquility. Tranquility when waking up without messages demanding money. Tranquility when looking at my savings and knowing that no one else would touch them. Tranquility knowing that finally I was the owner of my life. And best of all, something unexpected happened. One night, after closing the bar, my partner and I went to a networking event in the center of Madrid. It was a meeting for young entrepreneurs. I didn't expect much, just to meet other people in the business world. And there I saw her. Elena. Tall brunette, with a sharp look and a smile that wasn't given easily. I approached her. Hi.
Pablo.
She looked at me evaluating. From business, then to travel, then to dreams. It turned out that Elena had been through something similar. A family that saw her as an ATM. A past full of manipulations. I don't regret leaving them behind, she said with that firmness that captivated me. Sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is to create distance. I looked at her intently. Yes, sometimes it's the only way to start living. From that night on, we didn't stop seeing each other. It was fast, intense, different from any relationship I'd had before. She didn't need me. She didn't expect me to support her. She just wanted me for who I was. For the first time, I saw a future without the shadow of my family controlling everything. A year later, we had grown. My bar was a success. We now had a second location and plans to expand. I had traveled through Europe. I saw the Colosseum in Rome. I got lost in the canals of Venice. I drank wine in Tuscany. I lived with Elena. A relationship based on respect, not dependence. My life no longer revolved around supporting others. It revolved around building something for myself. I felt strong. I felt invincible. For the first time in my life, I didn't need my family. But just when I thought I had closed that chapter, my past came knocking. Cell phone. Message from mom. After a year of silence. Speech bubble. Son, we need to talk. I looked at it for a few seconds. I didn't feel it as a plea. I didn't feel it as an attempt at sincere reconciliation. I felt it as a trap. I took a deep breath. Now the power was mine. This time I would decide the rules of the game. Cell phone. Message from mom. After a year of silence. Speech bubble. Son, we need to talk. I stared at the screen. A year. A year without hearing from them. A year in which they didn't ask me for a single euro. A year in which they didn't try to manipulate me. A year in which I wasn't their ATM. And now they wanted to talk. I didn't reply. After 10 minutes, another message. Speech bubble. It's urgent, son. Please. Please. They never said please. Something was wrong. Elena, who was sitting on the sofa with her laptop, noticed my expression. Your family again? She asked without looking up. Mom. After a year, she says it's urgent. Elena sighed and closed her laptop. She looked at me intently. You know what urgent means in their language, right? Yes, I said with a bitter smile. They need money. She laughed mirthlessly and settled on the sofa. And what are you going to do? I was silent for a moment. Before, I would have felt that automatic guilt, that impulse to run to save the family. But that Pablo no longer existed. I sighed and replied to my mother with 2 words. Speech bubble. What happened? Cell phone. Incoming call. Mom. I knew that if I answered, I would be met with her classic trembling voice, her victim tone, her attempt to appeal to my emotions. But I wasn't buying her theatrics anymore. I took a deep breath and swiped. What happened? I asked flatly. She sighed heavily as if she were really suffering. It's your father. He's very bad. I closed my eyes and gritted my teeth. I already knew where this was going. Define very bad, Mom. He's had financial problems at work. They fired both of us and we are in a critical situation. There it was. I'm sorry, I said without emotion, but I can't do anything for you. She gasped as if I had stabbed her with my words. Pablo, we are your family. My family? I laughed mirthlessly. My family doesn't rob me. My family doesn't lie to me. My family doesn't leave me out of a trip that I paid for, and then pretends I forget everything as if nothing happened. Silence. Then her voice changed. Her desperate mother tone vanished. Son, we've made mistakes, but we can't do this alone. We have no one else. I smiled coldly. Now you feel what I felt. It's not pleasant, is it? Her shaky breathing filled the line. Really? You're going to turn your back on us? I was silent for a second. Before I would have fallen into the trap. But not now. Yes. And I hung up. A week later. Facebook notification. Mom has posted an update. I knew I shouldn't open it. I knew exactly what I would find. But my finger moved on its own. It's sad when you raise a child and when you need him most he turns his back on you. Resigned face. Don't expect life to treat you well if you don't know how to be a good son. Family always comes first. The last desperate attempt. The old strategy. Make me look like the villain to others. But this time I wasn't going to remain silent. I opened Facebook. Post. Handwriting. Funny how some people who take what isn't theirs then play the victim. Family always comes first. Then why, when they abused my trust, didn't they care about family? Sometimes actions have consequences. Trust is hard to regain. Post. Another month passed. The family disappeared from my life completely. No more messages. No more calls. No more attempts at manipulation. But they did feel the consequences. The lie cost them dearly. I, on the other hand, kept moving forward. And for the first time in my life I felt free. Elena and I took a flight to Bali. A honeymoon without a wedding just because we could. I sat on the sand with a beer in my hand watching the sunset. I didn't care about the past. I didn't care what they thought of me. For the first time in my life only the future mattered. My future.